This is Reuben. Can everyone hear me just fine?
All right. There you go, Reuben. You're good to go, man. I'm out of here.
All right, John, can you hear me?
I sure can, Reuben.
Fantastic. Oh, there, I see you now. My name is Reuben Smith.
Hi, Reuben.
Hi. We met a few times after Petra shows. I'm a major Petra fan and of your solo work, too. So this is quite an honor for me, sir.
Well, thank you, buddy. It's from what you just said, it's a joy to meet you, too.
Thank you. Thank you. This is my very first interview, and I'm telling you, I don't normally get nervous in front of big crowds, but this is quite an honor for me. Let's talk a little bit about your current activities, and we'll go back in time just a little bit. I guess you are the worship leader. You're on staff at Celebrate Church in South Dakota. Tell us about that.
Actually, it's, yeah, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm not the worship leader. I'm just one of the worship members, part-time. The worship leader's a great guy, and I was there almost, actually about a week from now, will be exactly a year ago, was the first time I was there, and I was so impressed with their church that they offered me a full-time position there just out of the blue, and I said, well, I can't do that because we have a lot of connections here, including our grandkids and my mother-in-law who needs us, but thank you very much. And they said, well, how about part-time? And I said, well, what are you talking about? We ended up, I'm there at that church about 1 week a month and love it. During the day, I'm a laborer that builds cabinets and stuff because that's what I like to do when I'm not touring. And then during the services, I sing with the worship team, and it's a lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah, that's really neat. I was listening to The Grafting today. Great album.
Thank you very much. I'm very, very proud of it. I think it's very relevant to where I'm at right now, and I'm just very pleased with it.
Yeah. The Grafting sounds a lot different than Unfit for Swine and Shake, and I love both of those albums. They all have 3 different flavors. They're pretty diverse, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And that was, let's face it, what was 12, 13, 14 years ago was Unfit, and then The Grafting comes out. I've gone through a lot of growing since then, and with Petra retiring and all this, I just wanted to find out where I was at that moment, and thanks to my son-in-law, Dan Needham, who produced the CD, and we brought in a lot of friends who helped me co-write it, but I did have ideas of what direction I wanted that CD to go, and I had heard Dan's producing for the last 5 years. In fact, he worked in my studio here at home for a long time, and I loved his producing. I knew it was exactly the direction I wanted to head for this 3rd CD, and hopefully the 4th one too. I'd like him to produce my next one also. But I thought he did a great job. I think the CD is exactly where it needs to be, where I'm at right now. Combination of Shake and Unfit. I think the 3 are a great combination of what I'm about.
Yeah, we were all happy you weren't leaving Petra when Shake came out, by the way.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that sure caused a lot of hassle. I didn't think it was going to be that big a deal because Petra was so busy at that time, and I got a chance to share a little bit was on my mind. I mean, when you got writers like Bob and Johnny and Ronnie, they were all writing at the time. I just really there wasn't a lot of room for me to do much writing for Petra, so I was doing some solo stuff using Petra tracks and that kind of stuff, and as I started sharing, I started realizing, there's a lot on my mind. There's a lot of things I'd like to share from my heart too. So Shake was really just a chance for me to go delve in the music venture with my ideas, and it worked out great, except boy, it caused a lot of hassle afterwards.
That came out when I was in college, and I remember getting Shake and listening to that and absolutely loving it. And then I really liked Unfit for Swine. I mean, that thing was in my CD player. Now I have the iPod, but back then Unfit for Swine was in my CD player all the time. I mean, Toby McKeon co-wrote on that album. And
yeah, he did. He and I had some great writers. Great producers, unbelievable musicians. Toby invested probably one of the best songs on the CD there. It was a great CD, but I'll tell you what, it was a bad time for me as far as the record company. And my first single came out and was misunderstood as far as what I was singing, and that sort of caused a little bit of hassle. And
which single was that?
God is Too Big, and everybody thought I was singing God is Stupid. And
no way.
Yes way. And
Wow.
instead of investigating and finding out exactly what the song was about, a lot of program directors just took it off the air because people were complaining how dare they play a song that says God is stupid. And it destroyed that CD. I'm so glad that you got a chance to hear it because I thought it was one of the best things I've ever done.
I want to tell everyone who's listening, and I'm not just saying this, go get Unfit for Swine, Shake, and the new album. They're 3 different flavors. Unfit for Swine is a fantastic album, and I'm telling you, I heard the song God is Too Big, and if I remember the chorus, God is too big, way too big. I've heard that song over and over and never thought those lyrics could be possibly misunderstood.
Well, as far as I was concerned, the enemy was right there in the middle of it. It was probably designed to do something very great. And I'm afraid the enemy, of course the enemy is not going to just let it just coast through. And I'm afraid did a good job of coming in and, as far as I'm concerned, taking it and causing a lot of confusion. And it not only hurt the single, it hurt the whole CD. But again, you know what? My ministry's not over. That CD's still out there. I'm supporting all 3 of them, and I will continue to do so. In fact, with my new label, 4K Records, I'm trying to buy the masters of Shake and Unfit as we speak, and if I get a chance to at least have the rights to put them back out on the in the public, I'm going to.
Yes, and just on that Unfit for Swine ministered to me a lot. I listened to it a lot, and I understood what you were doing. And I think there's a lot more people that probably you've been told, I bet, who feel the same way. I love listening to that album straight through. I like listening to the very last things you said on the album when you said, "Well, I'm not over the hill."
you heard that, huh?
I heard that. May I? What is it? Need I remind you?
Yes.
Powerful stuff. Powerful. People need to pick it up. It's an awesome album.
I think Need I Remind You is probably one of my favorite all-time songs as far as the commitment I did to writing it. I think that was almost anointed. It happened so fast for me. I wrote the whole song myself as far as the message and the words with hardly any help, any tinkering with it. And I thought it just came straight from God. I'm glad you mentioned that song.
I loved it. I still love that song, and I think I'm going to be listening to it again.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
For those that don't know, and I've heard your testimony, I've seen you in concert, I've read your testimony online, because when back in 1990, I rededicated my life at about 15 years old, and to me, Christian music was, God bless them, Southern gospel and hymns. That's what I knew. My grandparents were pastors, and I got Petra, and I think I got Striper and a few other bands I don't remember, and Guardian. And I listened to Petra on my walk to school and on my walk home on my tape deck, and I let that stuff soak into me. And I'm serving God today, and here I am getting to interview one of my musical heroes. But your solo ministry, and I speak for a lot of people, your solo ministry and Petra's ministry sowed seeds in people that are coming to fruit, and maybe not even come to fruit till even later than today. For those that don't know, talk a little, because you will with Ron in a minute, but talk a little bit about your start with Petra in, I think, January 1986 or 1980. No, 86, isn't it?
It was January 1986. I joined Petra. It was truly a gift from God. I'd been out of music for 5 years. Didn't think I'd ever be in music again because of my past. But I'll tell you what, I felt like God had put in my heart, every time I saw a band or something, it was like, oh man, I should be doing that. Yeah. But on the other hand, it took me 3 years to actually forgive myself and realize that my past endeavors could be forgiven by the blood of Jesus. But
Yes.
but that I had to go through that first before I could ever be part of a band like Petra.
I remember reading your testimony and hearing your testimony about when you were with Head East, and then you were out of Head East, and you were on the brink of taking your own life. And then your life came to the Lord first.
Yeah. Again, it had nothing to do with me. It was God's plan. I think He knew that I had to be brought right to the peak of destruction because I was so hard-headed. But in His plan, He gave me a wife who was amazing and was saved 6 months before I became part of the family. And in that same 6-month period was my low ebb. That was where I think the enemy had thought that, okay, I've got him. This 6 months, I'm going to bring him down to the grave. And if it hadn't been for my wife just coming home every time she went to a Bible study or church and coming home just bubbly and irritating to me, that, I got to see the fruit of it. And she came up to me just at the time when I had decided that suicide would be the answer for me and said, "You promised you'd come and talk to my pastor." And I said, "When?" She said, "Last night when you were drunk." And I said, "All right, I'll go." Had no intentions of ever changing. I had already planned on which way I was going to end my life. And that day changed my whole life. I went in and talked to a pastor. And when I walked out, I was a new creature. And I haven't been the same since. And I believe that everyone has the right to at least have the chance to make that choice.
A good way to get your testimony also is get the Revival CD and get that Revival DVD that came out, because you have your testimony on there.
Yeah, that would be great. Petra's had actually a lot of great opportunities to be able to share, and thank you, man, for all these, letting people know where these all can be found. I appreciate it very much. I forgot about that tool, but you're right. It's a great tool, and it's entertaining too. So.
Yeah, it's a great kind of like a behind the music type of thing. It's the closest behind the music for Petra there is, isn't it?
Or that, or the oh my gosh, Unseen Power. The Unseen Power videos had a lot of behind the scenes type of thing, but not the witnessing type that I think that project had.
Yes, that had some of the best, most slickly produced videos and the most interviews. And again, I did watch the VHS back when they were around.
Yeah, they're still out collecting dust, I think, somewhere. But you know what? We had such a request for the live, the live Petra CD and VHS, that Bob actually had to go out and get permission from the record company and reproduce it on. I think it's on DVD now. The whatever that first live Petra CD was. And it was done well also, and I have a feeling that a lot of our other VHSs we're going to have to grab and turn them into DVDs because Petra doesn't seem to be going away.
Nope, and it's not going to go away. I mean, if you looked at my iPod Touch, tons of Petra albums straight through, and they're never going to leave.
Well, thank you for that. I'll let Bob know. He and I talk a lot together, and I think every once in a while he needs to be encouraged, just to let him know that the amazing songs he has written are not dying. They're not going away. They're still being used. And it doesn't hurt to encourage him every once in a while.
That's good to know. I mean, let him know this. Back when I was just rededicated my life, the first thing I got, and I told you this in person among all the other people that wanted to meet you on the farewell tour, that someone gave me Captured in Time and Space, which is their first live album, and I listened to Captured in Time and Space and just soaked that in, and then someone told me, like, that's not their new lead singer. I mean, I got that a few years later, and I go, what? Fill me in, I think the next one I got was Beyond Belief. And that's one of those albums. I listened to some of it the other day, the intro to Armed and Dangerous and Creed. I mean, I wish people would understand that to a new Christian, hearing that high-quality music and hearing songs like Creed and the boldest songs, and they're not wishy-washy, and just poured into these new Christians. I mean, it's just, I don't know if I'd be the same today. And I'm not trying to sound weird, but yeah, pass that along to Bob.
I will, man. You know,
that was just
again,
powerful.
Again, we understood what our position was. We understood what our responsibility was. We realized that we were being very blessed, but there was a reason for it, and that's because we decided we weren't competing against Christian bands. We were competing against the secular ear. We wanted to offer an alternative to what the kids were listening to, and give a quality. Although our budget was 1/10 of any secular band that we were competing with, but I think our whole goal was, at the time, kids would listen to radio stations in their cars back then, and they had like 6 buttons on it, and those were usually their favorite. They were their favorite stations, and our goal was to have get material out for Christian radio that was so good that they'd put their Christian radio on there too. It was that kind of thing, and then having a CD that was so professional, and entertaining, but life-changing. That was a major goal for us.
Yeah, I think it was accomplished because each album, you can tell it was Petra, but each album changed. I don't know if it's like adding a different spice to the same food. I mean, you guys, with On Fire, and then Petra Praise, and I don't know, probably don't have time so much to go into that, but again, on the Revival album, you guys, on that Revival DVD, you guys all talk about how you guys want to do a Christian worship rock album. What are you talking, it's like no one got it. And then Beyond Belief and Unseen Power, it was so well done. And I think you guys understood, what a lot of these Christian bands may not understand, is it's not just we can rock as good as the secular bands, but you guys understood the ministry part of it, and you must have felt the heat somewhere along the way to compromise like so many different bands. I don't know how you possibly escape that.
It wasn't our calling. Petra was called back in '72 to take a music style they loved it to hear, and write about a message that was life-changing that they loved to talk about. And when I joined the band in '86, that was exactly my heart. And I didn't have any desire to be in a secular band again. I was in one before and almost destroyed my life because of it. I had enough of that, and I was absolutely content and felt that was where God had put me. Hindsight's 2020. I looked back and saw how God had conditioned me for it, and my intentions, absolutely, and I'm sure I can speak for all the guys in the band, is that we give a quality product that was going to change lives. And as far as we were concerned, we had God, we had the Holy Spirit with us. There wasn't anything going to slow us down, and I expected Christian music to take over and be the lead rather than the follower, and I'm afraid that the enemy saw that coming and did a couple of things to slow things down. But I'll tell you what, for a while it was heading in that direction.
Yeah, well, you said something, I think, in the Revival video, just because there's so much history in that you said that we're called to be, and you talking about Christian musicians, we're called to be leaders, not followers. I mean, I remember you being so passionate about that in that interview. Yeah. I don't see any reason why we should go and watch MTV and VH1 and all the other video stations that are on right now just to find out how we're supposed to act. To me, that just means you're a follower. Well, you don't need, I mean, we've got a message that's life-changing. We have got to be leaders. Don't be like the secular happening right now. I mean, 40 other bands are doing the same thing, or 40 other artists are doing the same thing. By the time, if you're successful at all, by that time, you'll be old hat. Be a leader. I don't know if we have a Petra out there right now. You guys have... you're like the Billy Graham of Christian music. I mean, it's just...
well, I don't know what to say about that.
Look, I just finished a book on Billy Graham. Maybe it's on the brain. I put it out on Facebook, that I was going to be interviewing you, and I have a couple different people that wanted to ask you a question.
Great. Go ahead.
Amy wants to know, what are some of your favorite bands you're listening to right now? What's in your iPod right now?
Okay, well, actually, my background tracks are in my iPod right now. I don't listen to a lot of bands, and I never have. Even when I was touring in Head East, I may have had autographed. Back then they were called albums, big black things that anyway, and I had a lot of autographed albums from bands that we toured with, but they were keepsakes. I didn't listen to them. In the beginning, I wouldn't listen to other bands because I didn't want to copy other lead singer styles. I wanted to have my own style. I don't know if I agree with that now. I almost wish that I'd gone back and listened a little bit to where, I wasn't reinventing the wheel all the time. But I've never been a big music listener. When I'm listening to radio, it's usually talk radio, and I get real political. So. So, Amy, I'm sorry, I don't listen to a lot of music.
Tara wants to know if you still stay in contact with some of the Petra members.
Oh, all the time, absolutely.
Wow.
I just had coffee with Bob 2 days ago.
Nice.
I talked with Johnny. I just had lunch with Johnny about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
John Wiley?
I haven't talked to Ronnie in a long time, and Louie and I, we don't talk much anymore. Love the guy. Think his family's beautiful. I wish him the best, but I haven't heard from him in a long time.
Okay. All right. Tell us a little bit about how you feel the power of music is to further the gospel. What is its role, if you could, how would you put that into words?
Well, music is music. Music to me is just a tool. It can be used in a positive way or a negative way. I think music is very powerful. If it wasn't, you wouldn't have all these billions of dollars being spent on advertisement just for these music writers. I think music is an amazing tool, and that's probably the best way to put it. It can be used positive or negative. In my life, praise God, in the last 25 years, I've been able to use it in a positive way. But I'm afraid 10 years before that, it wasn't so positive. So I've experienced both ways, but I've seen the power of music in both directions.
Yeah, I can attest to going to the concerts when you and Bob would preach, and the music, as Petra's music was everything from, you had the worship style, and you had the slower songs, and you had heavier songs like Creed and oh gosh, one of my favorites is we cannot forget Jekyll and Hyde. What a great album!
You're my man. I like you, buddy.
I got Jekyll and Hyde before it came out, a couple days, and Jekyll and Hyde will never leave my iPod. I was listening to it recently. People got to go with that album. It rocks. It's just awesome. Let's never forget Jekyll and Hyde. What a fantastic return to form you guys did. Just kudos.
Thank you.
Kudos.
Thank you. Thank you.
And after you guys were singing and playing the music, the people's hearts were softened to hear the message. And I think it was just powerful because God's touch was on it, and there's no question about that. What would you tell musicians who want to serve God through music? I suppose you get the question a lot, how do I get started? But taking it from a different angle, they say, John, I've got a call to spread the gospel through music. And this is a broad question, but how would you give them a thumbnail sketch on the attitude to take towards that?
Well, just always remember that music is just a chance for you to earn their listening ear. I think that a Christian artist's responsibility is to never say, oh, this is Christian music, this is good enough. It should be, oh, this is Christian music, this better be the best it's ever been. You may not obtain that, but you better try that, because all to me music is, and all that the whole thing of the evening of a Christian concert is, you're earning their listening ear. You're earning the audience listening ear. They've paid money or they've taken time to come in and watch you. You better be entertaining, but entertaining in a way that they want to hear what you have to say. And then what do you have to say? What are you going to say? Hey, it's great, good thing, the man up above is cool. Or are you going to say, Jesus Christ is Lord, he changed my life, what about you? That is what you have to think about.
Would I say that's how your pastor approached you, if I remember right?
Yes, it is, actually.
Does that say?
Pastor came to me, well, before I was saved, says, do you know Jesus? And I said, well, yeah, I'm an American. I go to church twice a year. Oh, wrong thing to say. Wrong thing to say. And that was the beginning of the end of the old John and the beginning of the new one that's been around for a while now. You
felt like you were completely content. You just built a new home. Your kids were in Christian school. And you said, this must be it.
Yep, I did. I said, and I praise God for it, because I'd been a Christian for 5 years then. And I thought, well, okay, I am complete. Like you said, again, I have a great job, a great church. Kids are going to Christian school. My first new home, it's finished. I was sitting next to my wife on a Sunday afternoon, and I thought, well, okay. And all of a sudden a voice goes, nope, this isn't it. Don't you start being content. This is not it. And I remember looking over at my wife, Dorla, saying, I think God just told me this isn't it. And she, I had to explain the whole thing to her. She says, well, what do you think it is? And I said, I don't know. And I didn't. I had no idea.
And how long after that did you get the call from Bob?
I almost have to ask my wife. I think about 6 months. It was that long still. Maybe 3 months. I don't know. I just know that a lot of things happened. After that time, I had two or three other things come up that basically warned me there was some changes coming in my life. Yeah. And at the time, I'm serious. I thought, oh, no, we can't have changes. I'm getting set now. I'm out of debt. I mean, this was like the new beginning for me, and I was getting used to the idea of being a civil engineer and having a 9-to-5 job and all that. And God says, nope, this isn't it. And a person came up to me, and because I was moaning about it, he says, no, I think it's going to be your heart's desire. I says, really? And I couldn't understand what that was, because, it's been 5 years since I sang last, and there was no way that I could ever be used in music again, and there's no way I'd be in music unless it was a Christian band. And there's just no way. And for God to allow me to be part of Petra was absolutely a ridiculous blessing.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere you had linked on your website that when Bob and might have been the current keyboardist at the time, came over and you thought they were the CIA or something, weren't you? Did you make some sort of...
you'd have thought with all the questions, it was John, the keyboard player, Bob, the guitar player, and Mark Kelly, the bass player. And they came up to, I was living in Evansville, Indiana. It's about a 3-hour drive from Nashville. And they came up to see me because they had talked to me, they investigated me. Everything just seemed too easy for them. For me to come in and be, I'd gone down and done a couple of demos with them, and Bob was super excited about that. Apparently, I think he was. And they came up to just check it out. They basically were saying, this is too easy. And they couldn't believe it. And so they wanted to check, make sure I wasn't just, feeding them a bunch of baloney.
Sure.
And it was funny. It was quite the evening.
Well, John, I think that'll do it. Once again, this has been such a pleasure for me, and you're my very first interview. And here I am getting a chance to interview my musical hero. Thank you, John, for talking
thank you.
to me
It's a
tonight.
great interview. I loved it. Thank you very much for being a pro. If this is your first time, you've got quite a career ahead of you.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. To our listeners, I want to say one more thing before we transition here from John. Go out and get the grafting. John, do you prefer them to go to your website or iTunes or eMusic? How do you prefer them to get that album? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter to me at all. My website's there. Like you said, iTunes, all the iTunes there. Or the several bookstores, Family Bookstore.
Yes.
And a lot, the bigger Christian bookstores are very supportive of my new label. So just please check it out. In fact, don't buy it until you hear it, because I don't want you disappointed. If it's not your style, I'd rather you didn't own it.
It is a great album, so I want to encourage the listeners, get the Petra catalog. get Shake, Unfit for Swine, and the grafting, go see John when he's playing live if you could possibly get there and support him. Is Two Guys from Petra still
Actually, Two Guys comes every once in a while. Bob and I think we've got a little series in the Scandinavian countries coming up. We did a special church event in New York where they had to have Bob and I. I think the Two Guys come around. We're open again. I mean, Bob, after we did the New York thing, it was such a blessing that he basically, he says, I think we need to come out of retirement. I says, I'm not in retirement, Bob. It was you that was in retirement. And he said, no, you know what, I'm available. I want to do this again. So it's available. My ministry can be anything from tracks to a big production, including lights and PA. You know, it all depends on what you're looking for.
Okay.
And I'm there to serve.
Great. It's John, correct me if I'm wrong, johnwschlitt.com, SCHLITT.
Perfect.
All right, and houseofbob.com.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you very much, John. I appreciate it. God bless you. I'm going to stay following you, and I hope everyone who is watching is going to continue to follow you and be blessed by your ministry. And if anyone is watching this interview and you don't know Jesus Christ, take a look at this man. He is a trophy of God's grace. Pick his stuff up. Thank you.
Thank you,
John. Perfect. That's a wrap. Cut it.
All right, that's great. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Reuben, God bless you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, John. I'll stay following you. Bless you.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks so much.